Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. We're here to do a preview of this week's Autumn Nation series, Quilter Internationals, whatever you want to call it. There's some big November tests happening this weekend. We'll start and we'll focus here on Italy versus South Africa. Both teams have announced and made some interesting calls to them. I'm here with Shaun in this podcast. We might have Cooks join us. We'll see. He's currently moving house, so all the best to him. Probably one of the Shaun, I would say top five most stressful things an adult can do.
It's the worst, man. It's the worst. Uh, I'm like a bit of a putter offer. So I'll move and then I'll unpack stuff and then I'll be like, oh, okay, let's take a break, or and then I'll still have a box there like in a few days, and then it just starts irritating me. But I envy those people that do the move and then just absolutely knock everything out in like a whole day. That's wild for me, but it's probably the most relaxing. But no, it's horrible, man. The excitement wears off very quickly of a new place when you
Yeah,
have to unpack all your shit.
no, very quickly. Look, yeah, I'm one of those like just power through that day and get as much as done as possible because you always trick yourself. You'll do it tomorrow, and 8 months later, that box is still tightly zipped, and you still need to unpack things. So just get
I
as much
lie
as
to myself
possible.
all the time when I do that. And I know I'm doing it, but I'm like, okay, I believe you this time.
Yeah. Cool. Let's then talk about the Springbok team for this weekend. A very interesting team. A lot of changes from the France team. Look, I think if we can call a spade, it's mostly a second team in a lot of respects. But I think, Shaun, the story for this team is on the hookers in many senses. Number one, Johan Grobbelaar has been picked at hooker instead of Malcolm Marx. Number two, there's not a reserve hooker on the bench. We'll talk about that in a bit. And number three, Ethan Hooker, he plays at 12. So let's start with Johan Grobbelaar and the hooker situation. So he's starting this game at hooker. It's his first start for the Springboks since they played Australia last year in Perth, and it was a pretty bad game for the Springboks. But even for Grobbelaar, he pretty much of that game was lost in the Springbok wilderness. His form dipped for the Bulls. It was looking really bad for him. He's now obviously made a comeback. And I mean, Springboks are kind of doing like this reality TV show of trying to pick the next top hooker, and it's not quite working at the moment. But so what Rice's done on the bench is that he hasn't picked a reserve hooker, but he's picked Marco van Staden essentially to be a reserve hooker. In the rugby laws, you must have someone like two people in the match 23 that can play hooker. Doesn't matter if one is not on the bench or not. I actually remember from the Bulls dominating days that have Gary Botha start and have Dave Kuntz play at flank, and he'd be the reserve hooker. So that it's not a problem that Mark van Staden is the reserve hooker, but playing in the starting team. But I think, Shaun, the first thing to focus on is this is a massive opportunity for Grobbelaar. Like, this is his chance. I mean, now it's not even just the third choice hooker we're talking about. It's essentially the second choice hooker because, Bonambi's kind of maybe fading out. Vessels is, this prop hooker hybrid, so we're not sure where he sort of fits in. Mars van der Merwe got his shout. Didn't look like he really secured a place. So if Roller plays well now and for the rest of this tour, he could be the number 16 player now for the Springboks.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I quite I quite like him as a hooker.
Mm.
I like what he has to offer. He's got good darts, and then he just does a lot of like sort of Bulls and Springbok hooker vibes, like scrums, carries, and all that sort of jazz. Um, he was excellent, like accuracy wise and form wise, and then he's taken a bit of a dip, as you've mentioned. This is a big opportunity for him. Like if he can hold his own, which we know he can. I think it's maybe more a case of form. Like
Mm.
like sometimes you have a dip in form, and the coaches know that you'll come good. Like, do they know that he will come good again? I think that's maybe where it lies because they know when he's good that he can be the second choice hooker. I don't think that's a doubt. Um, so I think there's a fair amount riding on this. The other part riding on this is if he goes down early.
Yeah.
Like Marco van Staden is without a doubt like a makeshift hooker. Like there is no like Brannas about him where he was a hooker and then he went to flank. Like he's basically like, he's covering a gap there. So there's that. And I'm only worried about that for Saturday because I don't want to lose. So not saying that we would lose. I mean, I don't like it's anytime you lose a hooker early in the game, you'll struggle that game eventually,
Yeah.
like especially with the way the Springboks play. So it's got nothing to do with with Marco. So there's that worry. I did have a quick look, obviously, and Thala, you picked that up in seconds that there was no hook on the bench and there were two props, and I was like, oh, flip, was there a mistake? And then we had a little look around, and then I checked the laws. So the laws states from World Rugby with regards to your team, who we all know the nuts and bolts of it, you have to have a replacement front row, and we have historically made it 16, 17, and everywhere in the world besides France, 18, where France have made theirs the proper 23. So there's that. But then I had a look-see and I read up about it, and then law 3.11 or 1.1, it says your replacement front row player may start the match in another position. So I don't think so. You basically what they're saying is you cannot have your loose head prop as your backup hooker and your tight head prop as your backup loose head prop, kind of like play musical chairs like that. You actually have to have three other bodies that can do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the first time we've ever seen it in Test match rugby. To be fair, there wasn't as much of a fallout on social media as I thought there would be. Like I thought people would really shit the bed about it. I thought it would bring out all the crazies again from other parts of the world. But yeah, it's a great shot. Then with regards to Marco van Staden at hooker, I don't have an issue with him being a backup hooker. Like I really don't. Like we've used him before. And as always, even with Brannas, I was like, if it happens early, I'm going to be stressing. And it did happen early in the World Cup final, and we all stressed, but he showed us that we had nothing to worry about. The one thing that Rassie and the Springbok coaches do a lot is they really like to actively try stuff in real world environments.
Yeah.
This is not a like we'll practice like they practice a lot, but it'll only be taken off the table completely if it fails in 2 or 3 test matches. Like they normally test it. If it doesn't work so well, they take it away, they bring it back later. Like there's a plan for this, and there's a plan for this in a game perhaps next year or the 2023 World Cup quarterfinal where they figure we're going to be playing Team X or Y or whatever. You know what I mean? Like this is the kind of thing. So yeah, I'm all good with that. It makes our bench weird to understand, and it's pretty cool. Add to that we have Andre Esterhuizen, which is also a hybrid player. So are we going 6-2 or 4-4 or 5-3? Same conversation as we had the other day, except this one's even more confusing. And
Yeah.
then the final hooker that you mentioned, which is the most
Yes.
exciting, is we get to see Ethan Hooker in the midfield.
Mm.
It is huge. I like a lot of people have spoken to me and I've seen him a little bit at 12, but I really think because of what he's done on the wing that 13 could be a shout for him. But my my understanding is that 12 is his first choice. If I think that's kind of where what I'm getting out of it. But it's not just Hooker playing at 12. It's having Hooker and Moody together, which is something that I've really wanted to see. I know I've had a lot of things to say about Moody, and I think it'll take time, but this is going to impact Moody having a new 12 big time. And yeah, so they have played together at least. So they do have a bit of an understanding. It's not like they're going to be introducing each other before the anthems and then run on. So this is exciting. And the other thing is they're really big, man. They are two really big kids. And we've got like another massive group of midfielders coming into the mix after just soon to be retiring a big bunch of guys as it is. So it's pretty exciting. You're on mute.
With Hook at 13, thank you. I mean, at 12, like, it's so interesting. Obviously, he hasn't played that much for the Sharks because of Andre Esterhuizen. So I'm looking on all rugby right now. He's played wing 23 times, and he's played at center 18 times in his career. Obviously, it's not been a long career so far. So he's played inside center 27% of the time, right wing 29% of the time, left wing 27% of the time, and outside center 17% of the time. So he's the perfect midfielder. He's literally played 11 to 14. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an adjustment for him, and it's going to be, this is not an easy test at all for both him and Moody, because you've got Brex and Cello. You're a good center combination when you have a name after you, and that will be something that they'll attack on. And I mean, look, I think there's a lot here for Italy to go. There's a chance here. There's something we can do here, and we can really put the Boks under pressure. But look, for Hooker, what I'm looking for is a lot of the stuff that he does on the wing. He carries really hard. He's a willing and a giving passer as well. I wouldn't say he's the most talented passer, but he will put the ball to someone. He's willing to offload in the tackle. He's willing to shift the ball to someone in a better place than him. I think him and Moody can sort of work well. Maybe Moody in some instances can be the one sort of doing the unders line and sort of going into the teeth of the defense, and then Hooker can sort of go over. Like, there's ways, I think, of them both playing off of each other because they're similar sized. I think they have similar skills. I actually think it might be surprising, but I think Hooker might be not as, like, he might be as fast as Moody as well. I think there's a lot of things that they could match each other on. And at least they still have Andre Pollard inside of them. So it's not like they're going into this as sort of two unaccompanied minors. They do have an adult in the room that can sort of point them around. So yeah, I really am looking forward to this. I hear you though, Shaun, about he probably might be a better 13 than a 12 in the future. But yeah, I'm quite keen to see him take this opportunity. Look, the only problem with the center position, like this time last year when Lukhanyo was still in the picture, we had four centers pretty much over 30, and they're all kind of in the same place in their career where, they could wake up one day and all be sort of off form. Now with Hook and Moody, there is some insurance being built in. The only problem being that they don't play in those positions for their URC teams, and that's a problem for another day. But this is a good opportunity, and this is a good testing ground for them. And like you said, Shaun, at least the bulk coaches will give them that test and see how they go. And which also brings me to Esthazen, where I think this is more of a 5-3 than a 6-2 or whatever the case is. Like, he's there to sort of come in if either Hook or Moody, for whatever reason, don't have a good game, and he can sort of give some experience and assurance if things don't go well. Because Hooker can still move to 13. Obviously, Moody can stay at 13, or either one of them can move to the wing if there's a problem out wide as well. So there is cover for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, we've got, so I think we'd probably look at, like, I don't even think Hooker would go to 13 hypothetically if Moody goes off for whatever reason. I would think they might put Willemse at 13.
Mm.
But we've got options at 13. Like, we can move Pollard to 12, and then we can have Esterhazen at 13, like a couple links down the line. But it might be worth our while trying Hooker at 13 if push comes to shove. I think it all depends on how the game's working out. But we do want our 13s kind of tested on defense. The one thing for sure, like, both of the Italian midfielders, they quite like to take contact. As much as Menoncello likes a line break, both of them do, to be fair, but they don't have a problem with roughing it up. And like, that's the one thing. The physicality at 12 and 13 in those channels, I mean, even if you look at Pollard at 10, like, we are pretty solid there. So it's all going to be about the communication, the timing, and the reads, and just kind of executing everything. So I feel that there'll be a couple times that they're going to try and, because everyone runs into everyone in the beginning just to get that little slap in the face and see if there's weakness or if the guys off form. Then you start managing around it, and then you try and strike it again later. But it's exciting, and I don't think anyone will really complain that this is the midfield that on paper, maybe a year ago or a little bit longer, is one that we were like, cool, in 5 years' time, this is who we want to see. Henko van Wyk is in that conversation and he's fallen away a little bit because of injuries. I don't think anyone can really complain about this midfield.
Yeah.
And if it works, we we have, dare I say it, at least another two World Cup cycles with them. Like
Yeah.
if it works, it's wild. And that gives us like 8 years to find other guys to come in and start sharing the load. There will be other guys coming into the mix. But I mean to know that we're sorted there and they have the ability to move around. We have the ability to move Moody to wing, Hooker to 13, or Moody to 15 and Hooker to the wing. Like we have those options in game, which is pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think Moody can also play 12 feasibly. Like, I think that's not a bad option. Like, kind of.
He likes a front on tackle, which is literally what happens there. My only issue with him playing anywhere in the midfield is just he's very much a backline player mentality on attack.
Yeah.
So he'll just have to, like, that passing will have to be on. Because the
Yeah.
one thing that he won't enjoy is running into a flank and a 12 at the same time for a long periods of time.
Yeah. Look, Menoncello was top for dominant tackles in the Six Nations. So I think there'll be some big hits, I think, from either side from this midfield. Like it's going to be really a crash and bash type of game. Um, Going through the rest of the team, I mean, it's a, I mean, like we mentioned at the start, like there are some risks being taken here. Like, look, obviously Italy isn't bad. They just beat Australia. You could arguably say that this team is not maybe as good as the Australian team that was put up on Saturday, like on paper. Because, I mean, on the front row, you have Boan and Zachary Porthen. Like, this is Porthen's seventh game in senior rugby, which is a wild thing to say. So, for someone like Danilo Fischetti, who's coming to scrum against him, like, this is an opportunity for him. I mean, Porthen is strong. I don't doubt, his strength and obviously he's been under Malherbe and Brock Harris and Kitsoff, so he knows a thing or two, but this will be a baptism under fire. Boanfenta probably was replaced early in the France game because maybe the Boks coaches weren't liking what they saw. So I'm sure he's going to be wanting to prove himself as well.
Absolutely. And I'm like, especially at prop, there are very few props that can play a whole career and not get owned by someone somewhere along the line. So having a guy this young start, especially front row in a test match, like it's just everything, there's just all the warning lights are going off. It's like it's too early, it's too early, it's too early. But it's really hard to go against what Rassie Erasmus and the coaches do and what they want and what they want to see. And this is another one of those, cool, you did well in your first one. Now go do it again and let's see if you worked on what you needed to work on and how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a case that they like throwing him to the dogs, but like there's an opportunity that he could be under pressure. But if that happens, Ricey also would have said to him straight up, like, listen, if it's not working, like you're gonna come off after 20 minutes. And that's also cool, as long as everyone knows that, which everyone knows.
Yeah.
So he's got a great backup. He's got the confidence to really chase it as well, because of the backup and also because of the platform he's been given.
Yeah.
Confidence is huge. And we're in a good place. Bonfenter is back. He's got another chance. Like he's also going to be confident with that. Grobbelaar is going to be there. Like I think the guys are going to be pretty well prepared, and something. It'll take a really, really like a really big tactical move from Italy to completely decimate them, which I don't think will happen right now. I think they would want to just scrum and it'll make it a bit of an arm wrestle and then try and eke out a penalty here and there. I don't see Italy dominating this front row like the Springboks like to dominate stuff where we're like, cool, let's get that first penalty in the second scrum of the game, and then and basically every 3 out of 4 scrums gives us a penalty.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Italy can do that with us, and I think we'll be good. Like I have no problem with it, and I don't have an issue with Zachary Porthen starting either. I just don't know too much about him. I don't know too much about scrums. Doesn't matter who he's playing, so it's okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, as you mentioned, there's a good insurance package having Steenkamp and Volkolo off the bench. So you'll then, whatever happens, you probably end the game with the essentially 4 out of 5 of the Bulls tied five. Steenkamp, Grobbelaar, Volkolo, and Ron Okia. Obviously, they all have scrummed together. Yahya Snyman, I mean, I don't think he was at the Bulls at the same time as everyone else, but there's a lot of familiarity there. So, there is still that comfort blanket. And I guess that's how Rassie has revolutionized rugby, where you kind of finish with your better players. So your starting players know, even if it's kind of like a risk to start like a younger player, look, go all out. Let's see how you go. If it doesn't work out, it's all good. Don't worry. Like, especially for someone like Porthen, I mean, he's literally 21. He's but a baby. Like, if he gets subbed off after 20 minutes, we shrug, he'll learn from it. He'll become a much better prop for it. So it's not really a problem at all. So, but on the Italy side, those first 2 or 3 scrums, I would target hard.
They're going to be chasing, man.
I would do what the Boks did in that second test. Illegal kickoff and have the scrum and say to South Africa, okay, cool, come, let's see what you've got. Let's see what these youngsters can do. So I think for Italy, a lot of this game is about how you start and just making the coaches now have to do the big tactical changes in order to sort of to get back into the game. So
yeah, that's such a great point. I really think what would be classed as a win for Italy, obviously getting a couple of scrum penalties, but forcing those early changes, that would be a win. And then you know that you're just going to get scrummed to death, but you get to take the first win home.
Yeah, like Squid Rugby said when he was talking about the France-South Africa game, with Galtier, when he used this bomb squad and put them all at the same time, that meant he already used this trump card. Whereas Rassie kind of used a more of, okay, let's strip them in this game. And those guys made impacts as soon as they came on and sort of won key penalties or key lineouts, whatever the case is. So you want now for South Africa to have less of their trump cards available for that last 20 minutes that this game is tight. And yeah, Italy will be wanting to sort of head towards that sort of game situation. It's weird to say this about 2 locks in their mid-30s, but this is a nice chance for Franco Bostad and Jean Clay to make an impression and to sort of put themselves out there. Like, for both of them, because of injury and form, and they're sort of low down the pecking order, they've fallen to now their 5th and 6th best locks in the squad. And yeah, I mean, a good opportunity for them just to remind everyone, to remind the coaches of, they're still in, because they know, like the likes of, Murat and Visa and Van Heerden, all like just chomping at the bit to take their place.
That's such a good point. Yeah. You must always be wary of the old dogs. Like they box smart, and I think for Jean Clan, especially him, he's really waited a long time to get back in the mix and just kind of reinforce that Springbok selection. It was obviously injury enforced initially, and then it's just been hard to get back in the mix after that. So, yeah, but having them on the field is massive. Like they're going to be hunting together because they do want to prove a point, but the value it'll add to the front row and the loose trio is huge. Like there's such a great link between the two, and a front row and a loose trio that not necessarily inexperienced, but there's been changes all over the show, even with the locks, as we know. So it just it's gonna be a great opportunity for them to be like the glue guys, just put in a massive, massive shift. And listen, Franco Mostert, like that's a machine. Jean Clan tackles everything, anything, cleans all the rucks. Like we're golden there. We're really in a good spot.
Yeah. Lucy's, you've got Kolisi there, and Van Staden at 8, Ben Jason Dixon at 7 will be interesting. I think we've seen it before, obviously, with Kolisi and Van Staden playing, that Van Staden kind of takes the Visa route of being sort of the direct carrier, which still leaves Kolisi, even if he's playing at 8, the chance to play out wide. Dixon, I guess, will be asked to replicate what Peter Steff does. I wouldn't say he's as good a run as Peter Steff or even Aurich Low, but yeah, I think those three, it'll be interesting to see how the ball carrying is distributed amongst the forwards because, Van Staden, he's a decent carrier. I wouldn't say he's a great carrier. He's obviously no Jasper Wiese, but he can carry up in the tight. You've got Kolisi, who's obviously great in the trams. Dixon, I guess, can do a job. Mostert and Klein aren't really carriers, and Grobbelaar can kind of do a job. So you maybe don't have the strength of carriers as you would, in a normal Bok team. Obviously, when Snyman comes on, he can add there. Steenekamp is not a bad carrier. Nokia works hard, and Kwak Smith obviously is going to be an impact player there. So it'll be interesting to see how those carries are sort of distributed because Peter Steff, especially in this sort of revamped game plan, I think he's probably our third, fourth highest carrier in most of our games.
Yeah, but so many of them are out wide as well. And I think Dixon's going to probably be playing in a more tighter role. I don't know if we'd play him out wide. We definitely will utilize him and Khaleesi out wide, like not as much as we normally do, Ben Jason Dixon specifically. But I think they need to be tighter. And it's a bit of like a different game plan for Marco van Staden. Like it's not like the balance of who our main carrier is going to be, who our kick return is going to be, that guy that drags in a minimum of 2 tacklers every time. Like that's not really there. And it's not Marco van Staden's true style. He's really big though. Like I think he just needs to make sure that he's targeting the guys on the shoulders to force those double hits and then just keep pumping the legs. But it's difficult to replace a Visser and a Peter Steph toy with anyone in the world, let alone two guys in the same game. So we have going to do a different game plan. Perhaps we're going to use Hooker a little bit more. He might just run those unders lines coming somewhere. I don't know, because he's a pretty large guy, like, and a pretty solid carrier. And Willemse maybe we have to look out wide to sort of spread the load from a carry's point of view.
Yeah.
But I would think that Dixon would be a little bit more tight. And him and the locks and the front row are going to really be tightening it up and just wearing them down.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing with Dixon is he's obviously a Franco Mostert kind of player. So both of them and Jean Klein is kind of similar in this. Like all three of them work extremely hard. And that might mean, okay, maybe the Boks are going to look to maybe play, a bit more of a width game than maybe they have done in the last few weeks. And just have those three, Khaleesi as well, Van Staden as well. Grobbelaar actually can also say this is probably a really mobile pack that they can get to every rack. They can get to every contact and collision and try to secure ball. I mean, Italy, though, has Zuliani, who's been absolutely on fire for this whole year. Like, he's pretty much pushed out Michele Lamaro from the team. And he's just, I think it's him and McWright are pretty much having a head-to-head battle for who can get the most turnovers last week. So we know racks have been a problem for the Boks sort of on and off for the last 2 years. So this is going to be definitely a big focus because Zuliani can really cause problems.
And combined with Vincent as well. Like Ross has been in ridiculous form. He's like physically he doesn't look the part, and physically he looks like, okay, cool, you're good at club rugby. For Exeter, you got your talent call up. You had 1 or 2 good games, and like you can't sustain it. But he has shown over and over, like he works so incredibly hard. He gets into open space. He's got the wheels. Like he's really just like a Kwagga Smith in that he just works so damn hard. So they've got really good balance there as well, which rightfully so is something that really needs to be kind of watched as an attacking aspect for them.
Yeah. So yeah, and Lorenzo Canoni also was fantastic last week. Look, Italy made over 200 tackles in the game against Australia. Like they're obviously not allergic to hard work, and I think they've changed their approach since Kieran Crowley moved on from the job. Like with Gonzalo Quesada, they've become a lot more of a pragmatic team. They kick more. they're not scared to defend and sort of build and get wins like that. I'm just looking at their stats from last week. I think everyone in there, except for their props, everyone else made 14 or more tackles and got a turnover, except for Zambonin, their lock. So they obviously are not scared of sort of grafting. And I guess that's kind of where I see maybe some of the method to the madness of picking Pollard and Van der Berg for this game and saying, look, just don't. It's kind of like when you play Argentina, don't give them sort of the red meat of constantly attacking and running into walls. And then their defense sort of gets on top of you. And then they build confidence from that. They get penalties from that. They score counter-attacking tries from that. And now you're behind. Like, try to play a much more of an efficient game of get to the corners, strike when you can, and strike sort of from a shorter distance. Then, run it from 50, 60 meters like the Wallabies were doing. Tire yourselves out and sort of give them more energy as they start to believe, okay, there's a win here. So I think for Pollard, weirdly though, I think it's Pollard's fifth game since July. Like he's just for many reasons, like a bit of form, a bit of rotation. I mean, he's obviously also had a child as well in this time, but he's literally not played. I think he's played the Italy game, a Georgia game, one Australia game, one New Zealand game, and then the Bulls versus Ulster game. So it's his sixth game since July. But this is a nice game to bring him back to, where I think his mandate should be get us to the corners, get us, playing in the right areas. Don't sort of be stuck in between 22s like the Wallabies were.
There are a lot of places to look at if you had to pick pressure areas for the Springboks. Like you can see that front row, you potentially could unravel. You can see that midfield. The Achilles heel for me is our 9-10,
Mm,
ironically. I'm quite worried about it.
yeah,
And also having Marnie Libbok on the bench as an insurance policy, I was waiting to say that for a long time, is amazing. Like, so we've got that. So we've got great options on the back on the bench. But you're 100% right. And the thing is the one thing I want to add to your reason as to why Pollard hasn't played when you mentioned form, it's not necessarily his form. It's like Sasha's form and
yeah,
Marnie's form that have also forced that. Like, we don't really need you. So just go and do your things, relax, wait. We'll pick you when we need to.
yeah,
This, it came a lot later than I expected. I did expect to see Andre Pollard sooner, because of the reasons you mentioned, that he hasn't played that much, and I really need him to play and get involved. He's got a new nine, he's got a brand new midfield. Like it's all pretty new for him. I do expect him to lean quite a bit more on Willemse, but Willemse is the kind of player that does like to get involved. Like, so that's the one thing that we're not worried about. Like, it's not a quiet guy that kind of just hangs there and waits for things to happen. So there's that. There's no doubting that 100 Pollard's got what it takes. But I'm more interested, having said all of that, I'm more interested in what game plan we want him to play. Because there's a lot of times this year where he's come on and played something that is not natural to him.
yeah,
So add all of these layers of fighting for form, being off on leave, not having a lot of minutes and confidence, and that due to the fact when you do get minutes, you're playing a game plan that's not suitable to you. Like that does become quite a bit. But let's be honest, he's super experienced. He's like super sharp at 10. So I think he'll be able to manage it quite well. And I don't think like he's going to completely just blindly go at things because that's what's needed. Like he will obviously, like everyone, have the ability to change things up at the moment with a little bit of heads up rugby. But I'm a bit worried about 9 and 10, and it's probably more because of Mornay, and it's
yeah,
more because I still don't see it in him. So I think my just knowing that like I don't really trust that process and I haven't really seen it with him too much, so I'm a bit worried. But that's just like a personal opinion thing as opposed to anything else.
yeah. I mean, look, it's fair. I mean, Van der Berg, if it wasn't for the front row and the centers, Van der Berg would be like the next sort of like inexperienced player that would be getting the most attention because he also has like a handful of caps, most of them obviously off the bench or, in lesser games, if you want to call them that. So this is also a big opportunity for him and a chance to prove himself because look, it's one thing to play Italy and South Africa. It wasn't the strongest Italy squad. Like they didn't get all their first choice players here. It's another thing to play them in Turin and they're up and they have a lot of confidence from Saturday from beating the Wallabies. So he has to show himself as someone that can handle that pressure. Like, we've seen obviously Williams has stepped up, Reinach has stepped up in the last season essentially. So this is now Van der Berg's chance. Like both him and Pollard obviously haven't really played that much since the July Test series essentially. So there's a good chance for them to just put their hands up and just to say, look, we also are here. We also are part of this mix. Like there's, I think, pretty much for the whole 15, except for, obviously a Kolisi, to an extent of Willemse and an Orense. Like all of them are having, this is a big chance to sort of either move yourself up, a picking order to remind coaches that you're still there and you shouldn't be like forgotten about. Or, this could also be, if things don't go as well, this could be you sort of shifting back in a picking order. So like, this is a big, big, big game. And I mean, I wouldn't say the result doesn't matter, but I think there's a way where even if the Boks lose, if people sort of do their things, play well, and Italy just plays, an insane game and everyone plays their potential, you put your hands up, you go, congratulations to Italy. But at least Porter can handle the scrums. Van der Berg was good with managing the game. Hooker was great in the midfield. But if this becomes like a bit more of a shaky game for certain players, especially, that's when it becomes a bit of a problem. Like, I mean, Edel van der Merwe is also playing in the wing for, I think he also has like a handful of caps. So it's Van der Merwe, Arends, and Willems at the back three. So yeah, I think there is, I think Shaun, if the Boks picked a first choice team, it was probably like 95-5 chances for the Springboks to win the game. This one makes it, I want to say 50-50. I think it's still Boks 60 at least. But for Italy, I think if you turn the perspective on them, this is the chance for them. They really need a good start. Like, it can't be 14-0 down and the crowd's quiet afterwards. Like, if they're the ones that are 14-0 up and now the crowd is pumping, they're in, I think, the stadium where Juventus play. So it's a bigger, I mean, it's not the Olympico, but it's a big stadium. They can build that momentum. Like, that's when it becomes like a big test for some of these players that haven't really played a lot of big test matches, haven't, I mean, especially like if you only have played URC, you haven't really been in like 40, 50,000 seater stadiums that are full and are up against you. So this, for Italy, the start is so important.
Italy, excuse me, Italy, the pressure is on them,
Yeah.
especially now that this side has been named by the Springboks. Like the pressure's on Italy. Previously, against the Wallabies, the pressure wasn't on them. I think they, like us, like to go into games as underdogs. They've done it their whole life, mostly, and like get in there, get a foothold, get the crowd behind you, as you mentioned, and then start building from there. Force that other team to start doubting themselves, like, and then they build on that. Like we've seen Argentina, sides that really just feast on confidence and little things going their way and stuff like that. This week is very different to last week in that the pressure's on Italy to start well, to be in that confident, clean mode early on, where they can start putting pressure, and that's where I think they might get a little bit stuck. Like that pressure might be a lot for them. They also might be a little bit burnt out from the week before. Like
Yeah.
how do they have 80 minutes in them? So I think it's really much a case of like the Springboks have got to just maintain it. Like, don't be 28 points down with half an hour to go. Like, be in the game. Like, if you're under pressure, be in the game. Carry on doing the basics, be in the game, win your turnovers, just break them. Break them. If you break them, we can score 25 points in the last half an hour.
Yeah.
So the important thing is to put them to bed emotionally quite early, because if they are confident but they're trailing by 12 with 15 minutes to go, I'm going to be a little bit nervous. So, yeah, but I think the pressure's on Italy.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And I mean, this is Italy's now gotten accustomed to not just, winning the odd game. Like they're in a moment now where, they've beaten Wales, they've beaten Scotland, they've obviously beaten Australia the last few times. They've took a draw against France, which they probably should have won. Like they can, and I mean, they beat South Africa not too long ago. Like they can sort of go into these test matches and especially when a team plays a second choice outfit, they should be like, take that as disrespect. And I think that's for them to set the tone quite early. And I guess the weakness though for this team is their attack hasn't been as efficient as you'd want it to be. Sometimes they just kind of like what the Australians did to them, just hold the ball in between 22s and not really do much with it. They seem to be like more of a team that attacks better from like a set piece than sort of breaking you down after phases and then getting the chance. So I guess the question is if maybe South Africa with like a Pollard, they sort of kick the ball to you and you now have more of the possession, because I think Australia only kicked 22 times. I mean, South Africa kicked 39 times against France. Maybe it'll be more closer to 30 now. So if you get that ball 30 times, you have, you know, Kapotso, Liner, and Ioane in the backfield. You have Kanone, you have Vincent, those sort of like runners. Like, are you able to make opportunities out of that? Like, is Garbisi going to be able to put Italy in the right places? Like, Garbisi will look at Pollard and be like, hey, I mean, I'll play that guy when we played Montpellier. Like, that shouldn't be a problem. Like, Varney was player of the match in the last game. Like, there's so much for this team to build confidence on. So, yeah, I think this will be a great test. Like, it probably would have been a bit of a boring weekend if the Springboks went with their first choice again. Like, at least in terms of content, this gives an opportunity for this game to be something worth talking about. And yeah, I still think South Africa are the favorites, especially because of their set piece and their ability to just get advantage from that. I mean, Italy has picked a 6-2. So, and I think there won't be too much of a drop of level when their forwards come on. Like, they do have like decent forwards, at least in the props, that can sort of replace sort of the first half crew. But yeah, I think it's still South Africa's game to win in that respect. Looking forward to Brexon against Hooker and Moody. I think the loose forward trios.
Hoodie. We can call them Hoodie.
I don't mind that. I think that is fine. Hoodie's is a decent name. I think the loose forward
That's all we
trio,
got.
that will be
That's all we
great.
got. I'm just looking at that. I'm like, Mooker, Hoodie, Keithan, Enan. I don't know.
I think Hoodie works.
Kanuka.
Oh, no.
That's what Rassi calls them. Kanuka. Come here, guys.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, this game will actually be, I think there's something in this game, so that I'm very much looking forward to it. Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute cracker. Just quickly, you talk about kicking. I tell you, with our midfield, they are pretty good under the high ball. So now all of a sudden we have like five guys in the back line that are decent under the high ball. We might be getting some sort of midfield long kicks and wide long kicks as well. It could
Yeah.
be something different.
Yeah, I mean, even kick chase. So if Pollard does like not an up and under, but like a chip that sort of hangs in the air a little bit, having Hooker and Moody catch or jump for it against Kapotso is also not the tallest fullback in the world. Like that's a big opportunity for them. So I think there's ways. And look, Pollard's probably still the best field kicker in the game, or one of the best at least. So I think for Pollard, this is the game for him to sort of, like when you're playing golf, you take out the different sort of like irons that you want to do. So you can kick long, you can kick short, you can chip it, you can sort of play it off the bunker. Like there's opportunities here because you don't want to give Capozzo and that back three space when they get the ball, but you can sort of put pressure on them with, your kicking game as well.
Yeah, listen, and also if you just any of our midfielders just nudge Kapowatso in the air, the guy's flying. Like he's giving away like 40 kilograms on both of them anyway. So
And
yeah,
he's
nothing
still,
like a couple of good hard bits of contact,
yeah.
and then he'll just be like, well, maybe I'm not jumping for this one.
Yeah, he's so injury prone as well, unfortunately. Like there's a decent chance as well if he goes up for a high ball and a a, a Moody or a Willemse goes with full intention, like yeah, that could also put him out. So that's the risk. I mean, we've talked about this a few times with Italy. Like I think we're both on the camp of we probably prefer Allen playing fullback and Capo's on the wing, but you know they're going sort of all out attack there with that back three.
Yeah, they are. I think there's weakness there, and I think the opportunity to put pressure on their back three is it's an easy win. Like you can see where we can put pressure on them. It's about just doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to see if there's another player I haven't really mentioned. Nicola Colone also had a really good game on Saturday. I think he was tackling like a beast as well. On the bench, if you remember in the under 20 World Cup 2 years ago, um, when Italy beat South Africa, their captain that day was David Odiase, who was on the bench for this game, and he gave that impassioned speech about like, you know, we're Italy, we're not going to take a backward step, we don't care that we're playing the Springboks, etc., etc. He plays for Zebre. He's already made his debut. I think he came on the tour in July. But yeah, I'm very excited to see him play as well. Like he's a big loose forward. I think he'll probably be like he's like the successor to Sebastian Negri, I think, in future.
He's amazing. He's got vibes, and he's super committed to the cause as well. Like he really works hard, so it'll be great to see him.
Yeah, he can do a speech off with Sia Kolisi maybe at the end. Um,
Sure.
Shaun, yeah, I think let's wrap it up here. We will so we'll do this preview podcast and we'll have another preview looking at the other matches happening over the weekend. So thank you for listening to this Rugby Bits podcast. This is a preview of the Cyprus versus Italy game. I even did not even ask Shaun for a prediction for the game, which I'm sure Shaun is very relieved about. So please follow us on our social media channels on Twitter for any updates that are happening. You can also follow us on YouTube and on Spotify to listen to this podcast as well. And we'll see you later. Bye bye.